You're listening to the Be Powerful podcast, episode 2. Show notes for this episode are available at jessicaoar.com/podcast and scroll down to episode 2. This is the Be Powerful podcast, where we're focused on stepping into our power and living the full lives we were meant to live. Hey, I'm your host, Jess Oar, and I want to inspire you to cultivate self-trust and confidence so that you begin taking action within your life. If you're like me and self-growth is your religion, this is going to be the place for you to share in real, honest conversations around how to make the shifts you've been dreaming about. I'm a mom, business owner, and strength and hormone coach, and I work with women each and every day who aspire to embody the strength to step out of their old narratives and into new realities. Here in this show, we're going to cover things like fat loss nutrition, strength training, hormone balance, mom life, business, positive mindset, and other topics that will guide you to living your most powerful life. Are you ready, Mama? Let's jump in. Hey, and welcome back to the show. Very excited to get into the topic today, which is all about mom life. So as you know, I have 2 young boys. They are almost 5 and 7 years old, and they are exceptional human beings. Keeping them alive on a daily basis is a pure joy for me, and my role as a mom, I do not take lightly. But I would be lying if I said that that is my only reason why I wake up in the morning. I am very keenly aware of what I want to put out into the world alongside the amazing humans that I'm helping to form. As I've been planning for the Be Powerful podcast and thinking about the topics that I want to discuss here with you all, I've been talking to a lot of the women that I get to interact with on a day-to-day basis. There are women that come to my house to watch the children of the women that work out in the garage with me. There's a whole community here within the Be Powerful gym. And I get to speak with not just my friends, but also my clients about their experience as a mom, do in the day, what they're accomplishing with their careers, how they feel about things that they're going through within their mom life and within raising kids. And it's exceptional because I have a village here, and I have a crew of people that I get to bounce ideas off of. I mean, there are so many days here in the gym where as we're warming up, I'm just sharing some things about my life. Maybe I'm talking about how the kids slept last night, or if I'm feeling exhausted, or what's going on for the day, who's sick, what logistics need to happen. And let me tell you, just having a network and a community of women is pretty darn amazing, and I hope you have that too. Today I want to talk about designing a motherhood on your own terms. And this is an interesting topic because I think that we are taught, or maybe we are just idealized around these women who have kids, and we give up our lives for these kids. And our role from the moment we get pregnant is focusing on our family and nothing else. And I know that might sound extreme, but it's not really, because I think we hold that ideal in our head. And so a lot of times we start to feel guilty. We start to feel like if we're focusing on something different and it's taking away from our focus, from our family, or from our role in the home, that we're doing something wrong. But this is modern motherhood. Modern motherhood is very, very different than the way that we were raised. And when I look back at how my mother organized our lives, it's very, very different. And my mom even talks about that, how interesting it is to watch her daughters. I have 2 older sisters, and she says how interesting it is to watch her daughters navigating careers and motherhood at the very same time. And so we have to figure out a way for us to adapt to the new way that motherhood can be, and to be okay with certain things that go along for the ride. We are going to feel a lot of mom guilt as we create the type of motherhood that is best for us, but I want to put the power back in your hands. You have the power to create the type of motherhood that is right for you and your family. In this episode, what we're going to talk about are our choices. We're also going to talk about our priorities. We're going to talk about our value system, and we're going to decide where the ideals that we have in our minds come from. Okay, so as I was preparing for this episode, I thought of a term, and I want to run it by you because I think I made it up. I don't think I found it somewhere, or I saw it somewhere else. But there's this thing that happens within my brain, my little hurricane brain of as a entrepreneur, as a household CEO, as a mom, as a coach, all the hats that I wear. I get into this thing that I'm calling the scorecard syndrome. At the end of the day, if I'm feeling less than, or if I'm feeling stuck in my head about, not meeting my kids where they needed me, maybe not achieving what I wanted to with my business, maybe I feel a little bit guilty that my husband hasn't had a cooked meal in a while, I get into this scorecard syndrome, and it's really a shitty place to be in. It's this syndrome where you end up scoring yourself on all of the hats that you wear and all the roles that you have in your life. So you're like, all right, today I was like a 2 on the mom scale. I was probably like an 8 on the entrepreneur scale. I was definitely a 1 on the wife scale. As a household CEO, yeah, I killed it. And we go through this list and we're like, some days we actually look at it and we're like, I didn't do well with anything. I think my score across the board is pretty shitty. And then if we add in our scorecard as a woman that takes care of herself, maybe we're in the negative digits there. And so we go through, like, we wear so many hats, moms. We wear so many hats in our lives, and we can even extend this into how good of a friend we are, how good of a caregiver we are for other people outside of our family. Maybe we're taking care of parents. Maybe we're taking care of older family members. Maybe we are on the PTO, or we've donated our time to something and we haven't been for a while. Maybe we have all of these hats, from like volunteer opportunities all the way down to what we do on a day-to-day basis for our families. And I think we can get into this spot where we are scoring ourselves on a 1 to 10 scale, and maybe we suck at everything, and maybe we're just exhausted. And so I remember on many occasions talking to my sisters on the phone. My sisters are just my best friends, and they help me to I bounce a lot of ideas off them, and I vent a lot to them. And I know there's been a lot of times where we've looked at each other and been like, I'm kind of sucking everywhere right now. And it's not a fun place to be at. And I know that even outside of mom life, if we're not moms, if you're listening and you're not moms, you're going to continue to get a ton of content out of these episodes, even if you're not a mom. So continue listening in. But we wear a lot of hats in our lives. And if we go down into this syndrome of the scorecard syndrome, it can get very, very hairy. And so I want you to think about the fact that you have no responsibility to anyone to show up as a 10 in everything every day. And in fact, it's not going to happen. So I told you we were going to talk about priorities. If your priority is getting a project for work off the ground, you're probably not going to be killing it in the household CEO perspective. Maybe you're not even going to be killing it as a mom. Like, maybe you're not up late baking all those cupcakes for your kid's birthday. Maybe you go to the store and you send them in with a little, like, maybe trinkets for all their friends. I don't know. I don't even do that part. I haven't done that sort of thing ever. And my kids are in first grade and going to be in kindergarten next year. I've never done the birthday thing. Well, I've celebrated their birthdays, let's be real, but I have not sent in certain things to help them celebrate with their classmates. Anyway, I digress. But we have priorities, and if our priority is getting the house ready for guests, maybe we're not going to be doing the best thing. Maybe we're not going to be getting our workout in, or maybe we're not going to be cooking meals from scratch. So I think we need to get really clear on what our priorities are, what our value system looks like, and we are going to design our way of momming around that. And I think it's really important to continue to be clear on that. And we can always adjust the priorities and the values. But if we are constantly scoring ourselves on this scorecard, and the scorecard means perfection, and we're not perfect at anything, we're never going to be, actually. This scorecard, the ideal of being a 10 on the whole scorecard, is actually not realistic, and it's pretty damn boring if we were going to be like that anyway. Once we establish our priorities as a mom And I'm talking about our priorities across the board with all of our roles in our life. Once we establish those priorities and get really clear on why our values are set the way that we're set, then we have the power and choices. And obviously, I'm going to bring all of the episodes here back to our personal power. And when we are able to really get clear on those priorities and values, our choices can also become pretty clear. As I was preparing for this episode, I was thinking through what my thoughts were about getting married and having kids when I was younger. And I was actually reminded of a funny story that I wanted to share with you. So after graduating high school, the summer between my senior year of high school and my freshman year of college, I had the opportunity to go with my best friend out to her summer vacation spot and live with her and her family and work out off the coast of Rhode Island, a place called Block Island. And it was beyond amazing. I ended up going out for a few summers after that too. And the reason why that's interesting is because when I was there, I had a lot of freedom. I was living with my best friend and her family, but I was working and we had a pretty rich social life. And actually the summer after the second summer on Block Island, I was working 3 jobs. I was working as a chambermaid at a bed and breakfast. So I was getting a discount at a bed and breakfast to live there because I was doing the chambermaid services. I was lifeguarding at the town beach on Block Island. And then I was also waitressing during breakfast and evening shifts. So I was working 3 jobs. I was pretty crazy. But I was making really good money. We had a great social life. And I remember I was going off island one day to take my lifeguard certification or recertification, I guess at that point, on the mainland. And my mom came to meet me for lunch. And I remember sitting there across from her at lunch and saying that I wasn't sure that the go to college, get married, have kids, move back to my hometown thing was my deal. I was questioning kind of like the standard. And so when I was thinking about values and ideals, this came up for me. And I remember that little rebel in me. I was 18 and I was dating a 26-year-old. And I just had this little rebel in me that was like, I could live this lifestyle. I could live out on Block Island. I could stay here. I could not go back to school. And I was just kind of like questioning everything. And I remember in that moment, I was like, whoa, like, how many times do we stop and question the track, right? And I don't know that I always did. I was really into what my parents were considering was the next step for me. I valued their opinion. I grew up in a religious family. I valued education and I wanted to go to college. And I was just thinking that the thing that I was going to do was go to college, find my husband, get married. I didn't question that I would work, but I was definitely going to become a mom and I was going to settle down. And in that moment there, when I had a sense of freedom and I was kind of questioning what I was going to do, I had this little rebel in me. And part of me really thinks about that woman and thinks about her because I also have a rebel in me about the way that I'm supposed to attack mom life, or the way that I'm supposed to approach mom life or build my current mom life right now. Like there are certain things that I know that my mom would want me to do, or that my sisters would want me to do, or that I and my former me would want to do. And then I have like this push and pull of like, no, I want to accomplish big things with my business, and I'm okay with automating things like getting a cleaner and doing things that I know that I can do, but I don't necessarily need to do. And maybe I'll get more childcare, and that doesn't mean that I don't love my children, but it also means that I have big plans for my business, and I only have so much time and energy. So I really, over the past 3 years, have been like kind of redefining what my role is as a mom. And I'll be totally honest with you that when I started this business, I knew that I was going to get some time back. And I knew that my days of checking into corporate America were gone. And let me tell you, that was a huge sense of relief for me because I did feel very detached from my children. I was seeing them every night. I was seeing them every morning. I definitely got home and saw them a lot. But I also just felt like I wasn't really soaking in their younger years. And I was really, really excited to be a stay-at-home entrepreneur. That came with its own challenges, though, because from checking into the office every day and checking into my superiors every day came me checking in with what I wanted to do and what I wanted to accomplish. And it turns out I wasn't a great boss. So for many years, I was kind of battling being a mom and having this extra time with my kids, but also being like, but I'm getting nothing done. And I love being home with my kids and I love spending more time with them and I love taking care of my house and I love taking care of my husband, but I don't know that I want this level of mom life and CEO life. I want to be back in the office a little bit. And so I've had this kind of battle back and forth. So if you ever feel like somebody has it figured out on social media, they don't. We're all just doing our best to kind of constantly reprioritize and reevaluate our values and figure out, am I bringing myself joy every day? Am I contributing to the world? Am I doing my job as a mom? Am I doing my job in all of my relationships? Am I taking care of myself? We're all constantly doing that scorecard stuff. But I gave that warning at the beginning of this episode because if we're always stuck in that scorecard syndrome and we're rating ourselves and we're constantly getting shitty ratings from ourselves, I think that's a signal that we can reclaim our mom life back and reprioritize some things. And so making some tweaks would be really important. With all that being said about what I thought of through my stages as my role as a mom, or how involved I was going to be as a mom, when I started trying to become a mom, I became obsessed. And I remember really being ready for my life to go in this direction, very sharply in this direction. And I was ready for my career not to be the focus. I was ready for Jeff and I to create a family. And it became an obsession. And for me, it became even more of an obsession because we did have a couple of miscarriages before we were pregnant and had a healthy pregnancy with Benjamin. And so even more so, I think, because of that, I threw myself into motherhood. And I just absolutely ate that kid up. Absolutely loved him. But that didn't mean that I had to give up everything for him. And here's what I see a lot with my clients, that we have for so long, we became a mom, and that was really one of the main ways that we identified ourselves. And we literally stopped taking care of ourselves. So we stopped taking care of our personal interests. We stopped taking care of our health and our bodies. And honestly, I get it, because these kids, they take up a lot of time. I mean, from the moment we get pregnant, right? They take over our lives. And I know if you had a pregnancy I had so much swelling with Benjamin that I was literally my fingers were sausages. My feet were always super swollen. And, this kid took over my life from the very start. But from pregnancy on, we are researching our kids. We are going to specialists for our kids. We are researching them around the clock to become the best parents that we can for them. And in doing so, we take our eyes off ourselves. And I think that happens very quickly at first, but then all of a sudden we forget to look back. And we forget to look back at the woman that we were before we had kids. And I believe that you still are that woman. And so I want to empower you to take ownership and to meet that woman again and to turn back to yourself. And I give a lot of ways in my coaching. I help women do that in the gym, in their home gym, or in their health and their nutrition. But I also think that in the way that we approach our role as a mom, we can take a lot more power back. So I want you to feel like you can design the type of motherhood that's right for you. Now, of course, in this conversation, we have to acknowledge the fact that some of us have to work. Some of us have to work in order to maintain the way of life for our family. Maybe you're a single mom and maybe you've lost your partner, you're divorced, or whatever circumstances that you're in, have you being the primary breadwinner. And that's really important too, because I totally understand how you could think, well, this conversation is all well and good because this is for moms that are just stay-at-home moms and have time on their hands. I don't want to discriminate against anyone. And I want to actually say that we are busy relatively in our lives. So, where one mom is busy because she's the primary breadwinner, she has to have a career, she has to focus on her career and being a mom and doing all the things and running the household and making the mortgage and all of those things. Another mom could be in a completely different state. Maybe her husband is the primary breadwinner or her partner is the primary breadwinner, but she also has all sorts of other responsibilities on her hands. Maybe she has children that have special needs, or children that just have special circumstances that require more of her mental energy and time. And so we are busy and maxed out relative in our own lives. So I'm really not discriminating against any type of motherhood that you are currently sitting in right now, but I do want to empower you in any way that any motherhood space that you're in, to take back some of your power and to start doing more things that bring you more joy and help you live fully in your power. So let's go through some of the things that I would love to offer to you as action steps so that you can begin to design the motherhood and the mom life that makes sense for you. The first thing that I want to talk about is setting intentions and goals. And so I'm not just talking about making your to-do list and running down your to-do list of getting your kid's school nurse the forms that she needs from the pediatrician and going down the list of all the things that need to be done for everyone other than you. Maybe even putting your workouts in there. I want you to set intentions that are bigger. I want you to take a step back, and I want you to allow yourself the space to think bigger. Maybe even like the Jess back in Block Island, where she was thinking about, wait a minute, I'm on this track right now. Do I need to be on this track? And I eventually went back on that track because, ironically, I got married, I had kids, and I moved back to the town next door to mine. However, my parents are no longer here. My family has moved away. I think it's kind of ironic that that all happened anyway. But I still have that little rebel in me, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna move away from my corporate career job, and I'm going to be a rebel, and I'm gonna start a business, and I'm gonna create this thing from scratch, and I'm gonna do this thing, and I'm gonna become a power lifter. So I still have this little rebel in me that's like, no, I don't want to do the normal thing. I don't want to go out to mom events and sit around and talk about my kids all day. I want to talk about bigger things. I want to talk about more meaningful things. And granted, I am not throwing stones. I love talking about my kids. But I got to a point in my mom life where I was like, okay, I threw myself into this, but now I want more. I want more for myself. And so setting intentions and goals for your life. And we used to call this in business, they still do, call it in business, the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal. What is your BHAG, mom? So don't just look at it through the frame of motherhood. Look at it through the frame of the woman that you still are. The woman that you are today, the woman that you always were. Look at it through that lens. And this, by the way, I'm not saying you need to be a rebel and you need to do something and think about a goal that is outside of motherhood. This could be about you and your family. Maybe you want to maybe you and your husband want to retire early and you want to go move to a Caribbean island, and that's going to be the best place for you and your family to live out your dreams together. I don't know. Maybe that's your big, hairy, audacious goal. What is your big, hairy, audacious goal? I really want you to think about that. And I don't know what you need to do to go create that space and create the time for you to think about it. Maybe it's going on a spiritual retreat. Maybe it's just going for a run. Maybe it's just setting aside the time to journal a little bit and start listing out your goals. Maybe you can just sit down and do what I call a brain dump, and you literally just sit down and think, okay, what are all the things that are popping to my head right now about the big, hairy, audacious goal that I want to accomplish in my life? And this, like I said, it can involve your partner, it can involve your family, but I want you to have a bigger goal outside of your day-to-day to-do list for your family. Okay, this one is really important. Design your very own mom life. It's going to be kind of hard for those of you who used to be in a corporate job and maybe you're a stay-at-home mom now. I know a lot of women around me. I've talked to a lot of my friends who are in the same boat. Maybe they have like a side hustle that this one's a tough one. Redefine success. So for me, success looked like going from a salesperson to a senior salesperson to a local sales manager and then to a general sales manager in the radio space. And that's where I was. I worked my way up. I had a great income. I was in a great job. But to me, success looked like money. So to me, it was all about the paycheck, and it was all about, because I was in sales, the way that you progressed in your career from going from a sales account executive to a senior account executive. You were handling bigger accounts, you had bigger paychecks, everything was commission based. So it was very, very much about money. And so for me, when I switched to becoming a mompreneur and I was working from home and I was working for myself, I definitely had to redefine what success looked like, because money did not come quickly in this career at all. I had to figure out what the hell I was doing at first, right? And when you're an entrepreneur, I mean, I think I expected myself to make six figures like right away, and it took a while. And so what's really important is that we redefine what success looks like. I just gave you a redefining through the lens of my mompreneur and entrepreneur lifestyle. But if we are really wanting to redefine the mom life that works best for us, we need to redefine success. So success for us might be that our kids are getting straight A's as a mom. Or success might look like that we have a very clean house all the time and it's always ready to entertain whoever wants to stop by. That is exhausting. Redefine what success looks like for you. So maybe it used to be raises and promotions and awards. We need to define success through the lens of internal strength and confidence. I am a confidence coach, and the reason why I see so many moms flocking to the gym doing this weightlifting thing that they never thought that they would do and becoming powerlifters and joining in meets is because we need a sense of purpose outside of, and a sense of success outside of being a mom. Because let me tell you, there's a whole lot that we can't control in mom life. There's a whole lot that I wish I could control about my kids that I absolutely cannot. And that's been the biggest lesson for me in motherhood, that no matter what I put into it, I am going to lose control, and I'm not going to be in control of my kids. They are in control, right? So if we're going to redefine success, we need to count on ourselves to use our internal strength and confidence to recognize ourselves when things go right. So what we can do is, when we accomplish even the smallest little tasks in our lives, like there are days where the best thing that I do is I put on a brand new pair of leggings and I go coach a class. And maybe then there are days where I Marie Kondo the whole house and I get so much done, and my kids are awesome and well behaved, and my clients are having huge successes, and my husband comes home to a fresh cooked meal. Maybe there are days that are few and far between where all of those things happen at once. But if we are really going to want to redefine our motherhood and the motherhood that works best for us, I really want us to redefine success and make sure that we are creating success in the places where we normally wouldn't see it. So I want you to really keep track of your tasks and praise your small accomplishments. And the small accomplishments could be that you made lunches for your kids. You just made lunches for your kids. I think it's very easy in mom life to get stuck and be like, what the hell did I actually do today? I cleaned up trails of toys about 1,000,000 times, but what did I actually accomplish? Well, at the very least, what you can celebrate at the end of every day is keeping kids alive. Like maybe that's the best that we can do, is we just like kept these humans alive that we're responsible for, and we did our job, right? We really want to enrich our children's lives, and we want to be accomplishing a lot in our lives, but maybe the best thing that we can do is just being there for our kids, being emotionally available for our kids, and just being there. That's actually a great success, Mom. The next thing that I want you to think about is along the subject of your mind and soul. What nourishes you? And what gets you back in your power? What did you do as a woman before you became a mom? What do you do for fun? What do you wish that you could find time to do? I want you to nourish your mind and your soul. So if there are things that just light you on fire, maybe it's public speaking. Go out there. Find a group, find an audience, find people who need your expertise, and go out there and go and get in front of people. Maybe even building a public forum is starting your own business page on Facebook or on Instagram. Maybe it's teaching. Maybe you were a teacher and you became a mom and you stopped that career in teaching. Maybe you go back and you volunteer your time, or maybe you try and find a part-time career that will nourish your mind and your soul, because you were meant to do that career. You were meant to be in that role. You changed lives before you were able to do this and before you had kids. Maybe your spirituality nourishes you. Go join a prayer group. Go join a women's club. Go join something or a book club. Go join something that will help you to think in a bigger way spiritually, that will help you create space in your life to read again and to consider bigger, wider topics than how many times a day your kids wash their hands, or how many times they pooped in a day. There's so many different things that we got caught up in as moms, and we feel like our lives are so small. Open up your horizons again and do something that nourishes your mind and your spirit. Okay, I was going to get to this point, right? Check in with your body. Check in with your physical body. Connect with yourself again. Turn back to yourself. Now, there's going to be, if we talk about values, we have a lot of ideals and values around how our body is supposed to look postpartum. I know that I expected myself to be back in a postpartum body, and I was going to be like Jessica Biel or whoever I saw on the cover of Us magazine, and I was going to get my pre-baby body back because I was a triathlete before I got pregnant. That's bullshit. And there's so many different things that happen. I mean, guys, I studied hypnobirthing before having Benjamin. When we were pregnant, we had a woman come out to our house and trained us in hypnobirthing so that I could naturally have Benjamin. But guess what happened? I had a 30-hour plus labor. But guess what happened? My 4-page birth plan went to shit, and I had a C-section, and I had postpartum depression, and I was super, super disappointed. And so really, that was my lesson in realizing that nothing is in my control. Also, postpartum was not going to be as easy as it would have been if I had Benjamin via, I hate to say natural delivery because it's not natural delivery, but via a normal vaginal birth. Okay? I had a C-section. I had a hematoma under my C-section scar. The recovery from that labor was a long, long road. And then I was just postpartum. I was feeling super disappointed in the way that Benjamin's birth went, and it took a while for me to get back active and back in my body again physically. So let's think about that and know that we don't have any timeline where we need to have any sort of body back. In fact, your body as it is right now is perfect. And if you want to create change for your body or get healthier, you can do that in a slow, progressive way that is safe and brings you joy. But connecting with your body, to me, is a non-negotiable. It is a connection with your mind and with all of your neurotransmitters in your mind that have to do with serotonin and dopamine, all those feel-good hormones. And if we're not taking care of our body and positively impacting our stress, mom life is very stressful. Our bodies were meant to move, and I want you to move in a purposeful way that feels good for you every day. Of course, I absolutely love empowering women to lift heavy weights, but that doesn't need to start overnight. At first, just start moving your body. Move around your house more, go up and down the stairs, go all around the house, park further away from the store, walk with friends. Just move every single day and start honoring your body and helping your body with stress management by going out walking. And then start to get in some workouts and get a workout buddy and go start lifting weights and get a trainer or join my workout programs and get fit and start lifting weights at your level and progress at your level. But getting back in tune with our body and the way our body moves and our posture and the way that we lift things and the way that we lift our kids, to me, this is a non-negotiable for getting back into my power and taking control of a life that seems out of control. Mom life doesn't always feel in control. And so when we are able to purposefully move our body, and maybe I'll say it, most women come to me and they don't consider themselves athletes and people who quote unquote train. But maybe we start to train our body and we have purpose behind our movement and our workouts. And we hold on to that as something that is really important to us and prioritize it. I believe that the power that we can derive from strengthening our physical body bleeds over into every single area of our life. And in this conversation, we're talking about reclaiming your mom life. And so I think movement is an essential part of that. In this next one, I want to be super, super clear that exactly who you are and exactly how you're showing up today is perfect. And is probably the way that it is for a very specific reason or for a multitude of specific reasons. But I'm going to ask you to think about what you could be if you are not just a mom. What would make you feel in your power? What would make you feel fuller? Allow for something beyond motherhood. Allow for something beyond providing for your family in any way that you provide for them, emotionally, physically, through the way that you care for them, through food, through keeping up with the home, and providing them with a safe place and an organized place to go about their daily lives. What more is out there for you? Just take a second and think about that. And I get into a trap. I get into a really big trap. This is my business and it is my baby, but sometimes I need to step back from my business and not be driving so forward with my business that I'm not thinking about what else there is out there for me. Lately, I've been thinking about volunteer opportunities. I've been thinking about spiritual ways that I can reawaken myself or I can dive deeper into my purpose, into who I am. That's always a part of my growing and learning with my business, this self-growth. By the way, if you want to grow and if you're interested in growing with self and understanding more about yourself, start a business. Because I've been on start a business and be a mom at the same time. I feel like this has been the biggest journey over the past 4 years. I have learned so much about myself through raising these humans and through running this business. And it's been hard. Like I said, being my own boss is not easy. So again, this last one, I want you to think about what is just for you. What's something that you'll do, be, become? What is just for you? What can be just for you? Okay, so those are some high-level things that we can be thinking about when we're reclaiming our mom life and we're defining mom life on our own terms. I want you to think through those things because we'll get really clear on our values, our priorities, and maybe we'll start to make better choices that will fulfill our lives as moms a little bit better. Before we end this conversation, though, we got to talk tactically. So I know that you see moms out there that are doing things better than you. I know that you see people on Instagram who are cooking meals from scratch every single meal. You see people who have laundry systems that are incredible. You see people that before Marie Kondo came around, they had organized their kids' closets and all of the hand-me-downs and all of the stages of their kids' clothes so that they had it ready for their younger brother or sister or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. You see moms doing things that you can't quite do well or you haven't put a lot of time into, and you're thinking yourself to be less than. I want you to really consider the fact, and you may have heard this in my Mom Minute episode where I was talking about the fact that we are all just hot messes. We're just covering it up in different ways, right? We're really good at one thing, but we suck at something different. And of course, the only thing that you see as an outsider is the best thing that someone puts forward. I don't always put forward my shit, although welcome to the podcast. You're going to be hearing a lot of vulnerable stuff from me. I really like, as a practice over the past 3 years, I have really leaned into vulnerability, and I love telling my messy part of my story because it actually feels like a confidence boost to be able to say, hi, here I am, and I'm a hot mess over here about this thing, but look at me because I feel so confident and in my power about this other thing. And so tactically, I wanted to talk about that part of things because you have priorities already set and the things that are working for you. You might be someone that thinks that having clean clothes and all of the laundry moving along is the best thing that you can do for your family. So you focus all your energy there. Or you might think that, like I was talking to my friend the other day, and she said that her mother-in-law was watching her girls. And when she got home, she realized that there was no plan for dinner. And I think it was like around 5:30 or something. My friend was like, I mean, I could never imagine that. There was no plan for dinner. And I was like, I do that. She's like, you do? And granted, if you follow me on Instagram, you know my way of cooking is very, very simple. I know how to cook. I come from a family of great cooks. My mom was incredible and cooked dinner from scratch every single night. And they were amazing, amazing meals, like every cuisine. But even though I know how to cook, doesn't mean that I have to cook. And so I always cook rando bowl style. I put some protein in a bowl, I put some veggies in a bowl, maybe I put some starch in it, and I put all sorts of different flavors as seasonings and toppings, and it works for us. I have my tried and true recipes, quote unquote recipes that I use, but I don't spend a lot of time in the kitchen because I don't have that time. But my friend came home and she was like, why the hell is there no dinner plan? But everything in the house, the toys were cleaned up and the laundry was moving along like this woman's career, right? And it was her career because this is what she values and what she valued when she took care of her family. She always had the laundry moving. For you, you might be someone that is like my friend who wants to cook every single meal from scratch and never even remotely considers eating out. For me, eating out is totally fine. I've got every healthy option on every menu within a 10-mile radius around my house. I know how I can eat according to my goals for my family. I know how I can do that with convenience items, and I've just gotten really good at that. That's one way that I automate, and that's one priority that I just don't make take up my time so that I can focus on other things, like running my business and being a mom. But this is this last part where we're talking about these priorities where I want you to think about, are you spending your time doing the things that matter to you? I know that there are some things that we do because we just have to do it as part of mom life. It doesn't fill my cup every day to be doing homework with my first grader. Sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes he's not in the mood to do it, of which case I usually back off of it. But sometimes it does not fill my cup to be doing homework with him because either he's not receptive to it or it's hard and he doesn't feel like he's good at it and I'm like walking on eggshells trying to make it happen well. Sometimes that doesn't fill my cup and I have to do it. So there are things that we have to do, right? Sometimes it does fill my cup and it's really great and we have a great experience around homework. But I would say that a lot of parents really have a hard time with homework. We have to do it, right? But are you spending time in your mom life doing things that matter to you? Or are there things that you can begin to automate? So automating like I do with making rando bowls or going out to convenience foods and grabbing things from restaurants for meals, maybe that's where you want to put your energy. Maybe you want to automate these things and start to delegate. So logistically, after you have that whole conversation with yourself about that high level stuff, about resetting your priorities and values, I want you to think about the logistics and think about what are some areas where I can literally take things off my plate and start to automate. And maybe I say to my partner, I need you to handle the trash, or I need you to handle this other thing, because mentally I can't take up that space in my mind. I have a really great system lately where I am making reminders in my phone about every single thing that needs to happen. And so for me, I can reduce the mental clutter because I just put reminders in my phone for all the things that need to happen. And that just takes all of that onus out of my head where I'm not up in the middle of the night being like, okay, tomorrow I need to do this, tomorrow I need to do that. I literally just open my phone at the start of every day and I'm like, okay, I've got everything in there. Like, down to little things, like I've been starting to do this thing and now this sounds like an overachiever and I don't even know that I want to say it, but hey, I'm going with it. So I have this thing, I've been following this woman on Instagram. Her name is, her handle on Instagram is Jess Oar, and her kids are adorable. She is a stay-at-home mom and she does an incredible job setting up what she calls an invitation to play for her kids. So when they wake up in the morning, she has set up the toys, and she has a lot of fun doing this. So this totally fills her cup. This is a priority for her. Maybe her kitchen is a hot mess. Who the hell knows? But she does a really great job at setting up her kids' play area, and she basically sets up a scenario or sets up a play so that they come right in and there's something cool for them to play with. I've been doing that where I want to create this like kind of setup of my kids' toys. Like I'll set up this like Monster Jam scenario where like all of their monster trucks are out and there's like an audience set up. Believe me, it takes me 10 minutes or 5 minutes to do it. It's nothing crazy, but they love it. And so when Nate walks in the door from being at daycare, Ben walks in the door from coming home from the bus, I've been really prioritizing doing this. But I'm creating less mental havoc in my head because I'm not trying to remember to do that at 2:30. I'm using systems like, hey, Alexa, remind me to do this at 2:30 before the kids come home. And I have reminders set up in my phone. So I'm talking about creating an automation, creating workarounds, or delegating things that you actually don't enjoy doing so you can make space for the things within your motherhood that are really important to you. Maybe you really love sitting down with your kids when they get home from school and having an afternoon snack with them. And that's super important, so you're going to prioritize doing dishes another time. Or maybe having dishes done just isn't a priority for you. So think about those things logistically because that's going to open up some more space for you mentally to think about the big picture stuff that we've gone through. Okay, so I hope that this was a fruitful conversation for you. I always want to be of service to you moms. I always want to be helpful to you and help you to feel empowered to step into a new version of yourself. And I don't want you to forget about who you were. So I really want you to remember that woman, lean into motherhood, and all the things that you love about motherhood, merge the two and come up with a motherhood that makes sense for you. All right, I will see you next time, and thank you so much for listening in. Don't forget to continue the conversation that we started here in the Confidence Club on Facebook. So you can get that link to our Facebook group. It's a private community, but it's free, and you can join it today. Just go to jessicaoar.com/podcast, go down to episode 2, and you'll find the link to join the Confidence Club. This is for women who are ready to continue the conversation around personal growth and ready to reclaim their motherhood. And we're going to talk within this group about everything that we talk about here in the podcast. And we're going to create this community and space for you to feel supported as you level up. As always, if you have topics that you would like for me to review here on the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. Email me at jess@jessicaoar.com. Thanks so much. I will talk to you next time.